All right, it is week 4 of the NFL in just hours. Welcome to Saving Thursday, presented by Bet Victor. My name is Ryan Pinder, alongside Tyson Cole in Vancouver. Tonight's matchup: the Giants hosting the Cowboys. 5:15 if you're in New York. If you're in Vancouver. 8:15 if you're in New York. And just checking here, 10:15 a.m. on a Friday if you're in Australia, Tyson. Good day.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to tell them where you're at.
Yeah, we're a little family vacation, wedding tonight. It's Friday morning here. The children are trying to sleep. It's just after 6 a.m. We love our football. We really do.
Yeah.
Let's get to it. It should be a fun one. Another divisional matchup. I was looking at it. Week 1, we had the defending champs against the Ravens, which was great. But since then, it's been divisional matchups. We had Dolphins, Bills. We saw Jets, Patriots. And now we get the Cowboys and the Giants, a rivalry for the ages. I saw a note on my phone today. Al Michaels has called 20 of these, including the Odell catch over behind his back. There's some good ones in here, and I don't know about these teams this year. We'll get into it in a bit, but I think we'll know more by next week about both of these clubs, which would be fair to say.
Absolutely. I mean, both are 1 and 2 right now. I mean, and they're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. Like the Giants were kind of supposed to be 0-3, and the Cowboys are supposed to be near perfect. So it should be a good matchup tonight for sure.
Yeah, we'll walk through some of the games they've played and where we're at, the line, the totals, and of course, some props and over-unders we're trying to focus on for this week. Let's start with some league notes. Week 3 in the rearview mirror, 3 teams, 3-0. No surprise, the Buffalo Bills, despite being down 14-0 in week 1 against Arizona, since that point, have looked like the cream of the NFL. Bit of a surprise in Seattle, as the Seahawks, who you saw play week 1, beat up your Broncos. They're at 3-0. Kansas City, no surprise, they're at 3-0. They're doing Kansas City things and getting Kansas City officiating, it seems. And then 2 other surprises. Minnesota has been unbelievable this season with Sam Darnold at quarterback. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, despite Justin Fields at quarterback, have been almost impossible to score on. They are 3-0 as well. A thought on the 5 undefeated squads, Tyson?
Well, I mean, first off, you got to tip your hat to Jack, our producer, 3-0. Good job.
Yeah, big role.
Yeah, he took both of us down, so pats on the back to him. I mean, we knew the Chiefs and the Bills were probably going to be 3-0, but the way the Bills are doing it, especially after cutting so many of their defensive players, losing both Diggs and Davis, and the offense is really not slowing down. They're not really even competitive anymore. They just play the first half and then coast the second half. It's been pretty remarkable to see. Regarding the other 2, I mean, Seahawks, no offense, but look at who they've played. I mean, they played the Broncos. I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm not going to pretend what we are. You know, we're not great. We're not supposed to be. And then the Patriots. I mean, they're just another bottom feeder with us. So, I mean, it'll be their biggest true test this week against the Lions on Monday Night Football.
Totally.
And then the Vikings. I mean, Sam Darnold. Like, what do you even say about him anymore? Like, he's totally living up to his hype that he had when he was drafted 3rd overall. So, I mean, it's remarkable to see. I mean, Jettas isn't slowing down. I like the Vikings a lot, actually.
It's funny. You think about Darnold, Mayfield, and Carr. And these were guys that would have been, oh, man, well, I guess they got a guy, but it's not anyone I'd want starting necessarily. Maybe Carr and Baker have sort of carved out that bottom third of the league starter thing, but they're not young, they're not sexy, and they haven't been stars so much as competent at times. And yet, maybe the biggest surprises at the quarterback position this year. Darnold's been fantastic, and you thought, well, you know, Justin Jefferson's this superstar, but can he get him the ball? The answer is yes. He's been able to get him the ball.
Absolutely. He's looked remarkable, even despite, you know, he left last week with an injury, but it doesn't look like any concern. So, I mean, it's full systems go, especially if they get Jordan Addison back this week. I mean, and then TJ Hawkinson down the line as well. I'm high on the Vikings. Who would have thought that they'd be number 1 in their division with the Packers, with the Lions. After 3 weeks?
Yeah, totally. Kansas City's done it without a lot of production from Travis Kelce. It seems to be Rashee Rice in that offense, and then just Mahomes pulling rabbits out of his hat. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. Kelce's been a ghost. I mean, Taylor Swift effect. I guess he's just too focused off the field than he is on the field.
Now that he's
But
won the Super Bowl with her,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
He's going to be distracted.
for sure. And they're doing this all without Pacheco. Like it's kind of a smorgasbord of running backs that they're going through. They got Carson Steele, Samaje
Yeah.
Perine. They brought back Kareem Hunt. I mean, they're talking like Kareem Hunt still got the juice, but if he did, why wasn't he signed before week 3 of the NFL season?
Yeah, I don't think Kareem Hunt's going to be a all-world player there, but could he be a serviceable back? He kind of was a serviceable back with Cleveland last year, but he
Yep.
also got outperformed by Jerome Ford. So I don't know. I mean, it's not ideal for sure. Everyone loved the season Pacheco could have had. It was something you could dream on as a wagerer or a fantasy football player, but it's certainly been on hiatus for a bit here with that leg injury. Jack, we're going to give you the floor here. Your Steelers are 3-0. I don't really know if they've beaten a good team. I don't know what Atlanta is. I know that the Chargers are brutal. And I'm trying to remember week 1 for them, which suddenly eluded me. But tell us about your Steelers D, because the defense is good and there's no messing around, Jack.
Week 1 was Atlanta. Then week 2 was Denver. Week 3
Come
was the
on.
Chargers.
Right.
Here's the thing. I think their offense is slowly getting better. Week 1 to 3, I've seen some progression. They've went from no touchdowns to 1 touchdown to 2 touchdowns. So we're making some
Wait till week 10.
Yeah,
We'll have
week
9
10 touchdowns. But this defense is elite. I don't care who you're playing in the National Football League. We just saw the Carolina Panthers put up, 30-something points with Andy Dalton. You're holding teams to 8.7 points per game. That is elite. It doesn't matter who you're playing. So the defense is top of the line. This offense just has to continue to get better each week, and I think they're going to be right up there. I think, like he's alluded to before, the Bills are probably your top team right now. Chiefs are always going to be there. I think the Steelers just need to keep improving on offense, and they'll have a chance at the end of the year.
I got a question for you, Jack. When Russ is healthy, do you go with him or do you stick with Fields?
I think you stick with Fields until he either gets hurt or things just go really poorly for a week or 2. I don't think you can go back now after a win streak like this.
I wouldn't have been surprised if this is what they wanted to see all along, but the ego that comes along with Russ and a tweak and a minor injury allowed them to do this. But I'm kind of with you, Jack. I think that, they were more curious about Fields than, what's left with Russ. I think Russ was going to be a placeholder best anyway, but with Fields' age, if you can, round off some of the sharp edges, so to speak, maybe you've got something there. We'll see. They're getting it done with D. They got Indianapolis this week, which I don't know what they are either. They look like a team that can complete long bombs and nothing else. I don't know. It's favored by 1.5. We'll see if they can remain undefeated. Jack, I'm going to stay with you because your divisional rival, the Cincinnati Bengals, 0-3. What the hell's going on with Joe Burrow and company?
I don't know if it's Joe Burrow and company. Their defense looks pretty poor. Obviously, not having T. Higgins in the offense, losing Joe Mixon. They bring in Zach Moss. He's been able to do a couple things. I'm not sure. I saw a clip of them coming out of the field at the start of the second half the other night, and they just don't feel like a team. Maybe it's coaching. I'm not too sure what's going on there in Cincinnati, but they're in trouble. They got Carolina this week, an Andy Dalton revenge spot.
Man.
Which could be epic. But I'm not too sure. What do you guys think? What's wrong with the Bengals here?
Well, it's the defense. And they turned over the ball like crazy in week 1. They had no business losing to the Patriots, but they kept giving them the football. But 0-3 as a whole, that's deep. It's big trouble there. And again, it just leaves no room for error with the defense that you've got to get a lead with. You can't be chasing in a game because they can't make stops, it seems. One of 3 0-3 teams. What have you seen in Cincinnati, Tyson?
I mean, it's just the defense. Like it's been brutal. And I mean, without T. Higgins, they lost Tyler Boyd, who was a trusted receiver. And then you start the year without T. Higgins. So now the defense is like, okay, let's just double team Jamar. They don't have a run game. They haven't figured out who's the number 1 there, whether it's Moss or Chase Brown. So they didn't really have an identity on offense. So you can't compete with that. Like the Patriots didn't look that great in week 1, but their offense was so inefficient that they couldn't do anything. So,
right.
I mean, now that they have that one explosion offense game out of the way, like maybe they start to round into form, but I don't think Jack wants that.
Jacksonville and Tennessee, the 2 other 0-3 teams. Will Levis, I don't know, man. Look, we're watching 10 years later, Sam Darnold look good or whatever it is, but still, there's too many mistakes, turnovers. I don't see an efficient passer. That could be a long season, one long enough that you might get to draft the quarterback really high if you want to. I don't know that the defense is bad. It's just they've given away a couple of games on turnovers. Certainly the Chicago game week 1 was a masterclass in giving a W to the other team with unnecessary turnovers. Quick thought on Tennessee, Tyson?
I mean, I actually really like their defense. I think their defense is held pretty strong. They're a great run defense, even going back to last season. They bring over L'Jarius Sneed. They got another good corner. So I really like their defense. But like you said, it's just Willis. Those are ridiculous turnovers that you just can't have in the NFL. The one where he was falling over and then pitches it like that, straight for pick 6. Like, what are you doing there? That was unbelievable. He had another one in, I think, the Jets game as well. You just can't have that. I wonder how long a leash he has, but I don't really know who their backup is, and even if it's worth it to start him. But I don't know if he necessarily has a job going into next year.
Jacksonville's 0-3. They had a lead week 1 against Miami. I recall that, thinking, wow, okay. No, they choked that away. Trevor Lawrence has not looked like a guy you should have given the bag to necessarily. I don't think he's all the problem, but he certainly hasn't been this Peyton Manning generational quarterback that we were promised at the draft many years ago.
Yeah, no, he has not looked good. I mean, they finally got Christian Kirk going in the offense. Their one bright spot has to be Brian Thomas Jr. Like, he looked phenomenal. He's definitely looked the part. But their pass defense, it was graded low coming into the season by PFF, and they were spot on. They are just getting torched by wide receivers, quarterbacks, and when you don't have, Trevor Lawrence living up to that name and a defense like that, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's definitely why that they're 0-3 right now.
Okay, let's move to some injury news. We've taken another twist in the Christian McCaffrey injury saga, from he's going to go week 1 to the late scratch on Monday night. Now he's in Germany seeing a specialist. This can't be good, right? Right?
I don't know. I can't be. I mean, as a Christian McCaffrey owner in fantasy, I'm hoping for the best. I hope he gets good news. But, I mean, if you're flying halfway across the world to get a second opinion, it's probably not anything good. So I don't
like the first opinion if you're going that far for a second opinion, right?
Exactly.
That's concerning.
Absolutely. I don't know. I'm worried about it. We might not see him this year. The way I see it is he was hurt coming into training camp, but then I think that week in practice he tweaked something. And that was another injury. So now I think that might have been the Achilles. But yeah, it doesn't sound good. I mean, 49ers are so banged up right now.
Yeah. 1-2.
Yeah. They're treading water right now.
Loss to the Rams last week was ouch. Looked like they had that tucked away.
Yeah, they had another
really beaten up Rams team, like O-line, wide receivers, Stafford. Wow. I don't know that what the Packers are going to do with Jordan Love. It sounds like he could be ready to go, but they've got really good quarterback play from Malik Willis, which I did not see coming. Just put that in the Darnold category.
Absolutely. I mean, Tennessee's probably kicking themselves right now because they don't have Willis anymore. They drafted him in the second round a few years ago, or third round, I believe. But I mean, they could use him right now. He's looked phenomenal, and there's no real reason to rush Love back. You've got 2 wins under your belt with Malik Willis. So, he's not the greatest passer, of course. Week 1, they didn't really rely on him. They just fed Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll see what happens. I think Jordan Love's just such a competitor that if he's ready, he's going to be in. So we'll have to wait and see. But they're up against Sam Darnold, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's get to all the lines on tonight's contest. Dallas at the Giants. We'll take a look at the over-unders, the totals, and the line. Now, this line's moved a bit. Now, I just woke up in Australia. Last night, I was looking at a 5.5 point line. Let's make sure that's still the same on BetVictor, because even that had changed from earlier in the week. But yeah, Dallas favored on the road. Interesting number there because both these teams have been disappointing, but they've kind of gone about it differently. Dallas won week 1. They throttled Cleveland 33-17, only then to get shocked by New Orleans and then, make it look entertaining and close, but it wasn't really against Baltimore. So they feel like they're going the wrong direction. Meanwhile, the Giants, they got thumped by Minnesota week 1. They scored 3 touchdowns and didn't win, despite not allowing a touchdown in a loss to Washington. First time, I believe, in NFL history.
Yeah.
And then they actually won in Cleveland last week. So it feels like they're getting better while the Cowboys are getting worse. 5.5 is the spread. Your total is 45.5. So we're expecting some points. And what else can we tell you? I mean, I guess I don't know that it's unreasonable to think the Giants can hang here. Plus 213 is a pretty big number on the money line. And that would obviously reflect the 5.5 points that the Cowboys are favored by. Interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. I mean, it's weird. I think a lot of people had this circled as, a great bounce back spot. You just get blown out 2 weeks for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And, okay, you get the Giants, easy matchup, divisional matchup. But, I mean, the line's not reflecting that. So we might see a closer game than we expect. I believe it opened at -6, now -5.5 on BetVictor. And I'm even seeing other books that have it as short as -5. So, I think you're right. It might be closer. I might kind of lean towards that under if we see a close game here, because I do not trust the defenses.
Let's look at the defenses and how they do positionally against receiver groups. We always do this when we try to target a prop bet. So let's see what the Cowboys have been bad at and what the Giants have been bad at. If you see green, that means good for the team playing them. So that looks like good news for the Giants run game, as Dallas is 4th from the bottom in rushing yards against and receiving yards against. Wow, goodness. This is we might have some Giants props coming in today, Tyson.
We might just have to. I never thought I'd say that. If you told me last year that we'd be targeting Giants running backs in week 4 of this year against the Cowboys run defense, I wouldn't have believed you.
You would have thought they kept Saquon. Whoops.
Yeah.
But then on the other side, the Giants are also a top 10 team to run the ball against and to throw against or catch the ball against. So I guess this is why we have 45.5 as a total. This could be a lot of scoring tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And the worry would be, the Giants offense, Danny Dimes, can you really trust him? But the play of Malik Neighbors has been phenomenal. He's been the best rookie and probably the best wide receiver across the entire league. So that's got to weigh into it a little bit. If Danny Dimes just targets him 17 times like he did in week 2, I mean, they might have a good shot here.
Yeah. Jack, what are we looking at for injuries here with the Giants and the Cowboys? Because I know last week that was something that it was like, look, we all play fantasy. We love talking about that. But what we didn't know until we got studying for the show is that Patriots O-line was decimated. And that played a huge role last week.
Yeah, it did. So for today's game, 2 very important injuries here. We have Kalen Carson, who is a starting cornerback for the Cowboys. He's on the opposite side of Diggs. He's stepped up. He's a rookie out of Wake Forest, 5th-round pick. He's been playing for Deron Bland, who was put on IR before the season started. He is doubtful, so I'm expecting to see Jordan Lewis, who is their nickel corner. He'll come in on their base defense and go outside. And then when they go into that 3-corner formation, you'll see either Andrew Booth, CJ Goodwin, a bunch of no-names that have not played this season are going to have to get some snaps here on this Cowboys defense. So a little bit of correlation here now on the Giants side. Darius Slayton is questionable. So that's where you're going to see kind of that matchup going against this injured Cowboys corners. I expect Diggs to kind of shadow Neighbors all day. And this is where you're going to get that other matchup. If Slayton's able to go, I like, picking on that side. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, like we talked about before the show, he's been making a pretty good impact on this Giants offense as well. So those are your 2 very important injuries. And then a little side note, Adoree Jackson and Drew Phillips are out. Nick McLeod will come in and fill that slot role. He played week 1 and then missed the last 2 weeks with injuries.
Okay. So that helps. That kind of emboldens us a bit, Tyson. We'll get to the bets. Let's talk about it. Okay. Before we get to our props, CeeDee Lamb, we're waiting for the big game. Hasn't happened yet. He's got 218 yards, just 1 touchdown. Okay. It's not bad, but it's certainly not. We haven't seen the best of CeeDee and Dak Prescott yet this year. We're waiting for the breakout game. Staying with the Cowboys, it is that committee backfield. It looks like Rico Dowdle's taking over, but taking over what? Taking over a mediocre sort of backfield? Like, I don't think there's any world beaters here. The real star has been their kicker. What is it, Brandon or Braden Aubrey? This guy's been a mega stud.
Yeah. So I sent this to producer Jack before. How many quarterbacks do you think in fantasy football, has Brandon Aubrey outscored so far this season? Or just the notable ones? Yeah.
Who has he outscored, or who has outscored him?
Who's he outscored?
Oh man, I would think half the league. Like, I'm looking here. He's got a 65-yarder.
Some notable
52, 57. So he would have, I'm guessing, who is off to a really slow start? Like, maybe Herbert, Mahomes. Like, there's got to be some guys that are only at 3 touchdowns here, something like that.
Patty Mahomes is right.
Give me the list. This is going to be crazy.
Yeah, Jack, you want to pull it up?
So 65 yards, 52 yards, and 57 yards. Those are his weekly highs. Each week he's hit a bomb. Look at this. More than CD, more than Tyreek, Diggs, Chase, Harrison.
That's insane.
And Harrison had the big game in week 2. That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
And Chase had touchdowns last week.
Like, man, that is
it's crazy. I mean, I'm petitioning drafting kickers round 1 in fantasy next year. I mean, look at this.
There you go.
We in our league, we removed the kicker about 2 years ago. I can't stand shit like this. I don't know why. It drives me nuts. But when someone has a kicker that goes for 20 and you got one that, has 3 extra points, it's just, I can't stand it. So we got rid of the kicker.
Yeah, that's
you either lean into it or you just totally ban them. I'm in one league where there's no kickers, and the other is, hey, if he hits a 40-yarder, 4 yards, 50-yarder, 5 points. Like, just keep cranking up. Missed extra point, -2. Like, let the chaos reign. All right, so that's the story on the Dallas side. Let's take a look at the Giants. Danny Dimes has been fine since a really bad week 1. Week 1, 5 sacks, 2 picks, no touchdowns, and a passer rating of like under 45. Like, brutal, laughing stock. We had the Danny Dimes has thrown more pick sixes than touchdowns since he signed his new deal. All that was happening. Remember, it was like rock bottom for Danny Dimes.
Yeah.
But since then, he's been pretty damn good. 4 touchdowns, no picks. He's only been sacked 3 times after getting taken down 5 times in week number 1. And his pass rating is over 100 the last 2 games. He's been fine, Tyson, albeit against, better spots than the Minnesota defense. I thought Cleveland was a good defense, but he's been fine.
Yeah, no, he's been impressive. After that week 1 performance, I definitely would have clocked him in as, out by week 4. Drew Lock, let's see what you got in him, and then draft a quarterback. But I mean, it was impressive. By all means, he was probably the better quarterback against the Commanders because he got the touchdowns. Jane Daniels wasn't able to do that. So, I mean, he's won the quarterback battle 2 out of the 3 weeks. So, I mean, he's been surprisingly good. But look, like when you have a player like Malik Neighbors, you kind of just huck it up to him, send a prayer, and see what happens, right? So we'll see how much is actually him. We'll see if he can elevate the team a little bit more. But, I mean, definitely a good start for Danny.
Yeah. Neighbors, 270-plus yards through 3 weeks in the NFL. It's a good start. Yep. And it's not just one big game. He's been big each of the last 2. Week 1, he was fine in the blowout loss to Minnesota. He's a star. And he seems to be catching everything. Been to the house 3 times the last 2 weeks. Love to see that. The run game, Devin Singletary, not maybe the sexiest name, pretty well-traveled guy, but he's getting it done. Almost 5 a pop. It's 4.7 on a rush, and it's not Saquon Barkley explosiveness, but Singletary's been fine.
Yeah, he's been sufficient, and I mean, I just wonder what Saquon would have done in this offense. If Singletary, who is kind of being thrown around like, don't want him. But he did really good last year, and he's kind of carrying that over again with the Giants this year.
I think Saquon's happy where he is. He seems to be doing okay.
Yeah, he's all right.
He likes running behind that O-line, right?
For sure. Yeah, much better.
Kelsey brother or not, he likes that O-line. So let's get to the bets. Where are we going for props, Tyson? I know you've been in the lab cooking some up here. Let's see what we can exploit. Let her go.
Well, you kind of alluded to it. CeeDee Lamb, Dak, they haven't really, figured it out yet. I think the squeaky wheel game is tonight. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb over 80.5 receiving yards or 78.5. That line has moved, which is great. So the Giants, they're okay against wide receivers. Not great, though. Week 1, they allowed 59 yards and a touchdown to Jettas, 22 only to McLaurin. But again, Jaden Daniels didn't look that great that week. But last week, they allowed 7 receptions, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns to Amari Cooper. So the Giants, they run the 14th most zone coverage, which is middle of the pack. And CD actually isn't that good against zone, but they're in the middle of the pack, so I'm not too worried about it. He runs the most out of the slot, and that's kind of exactly where you expose this Giants offense or defense. Okay. Sorry. And Ferguson last week he returned. He balled out. He had 6 catches, 11 targets, 95 yards. Now, before they were double teaming CD defenses because he didn't have that other option. Now that Ferguson's back, he showed what he did. Like, you're going to need to have a good corner at least on him, or good middle linebacker, good safety. So that should only open up things more for CeeDee Lamb. He's only gone over once this season. But yeah, I really think, this is the game. They get going, big primetime game, and he crushes the Giants. He's cleared in 3 out of 4 games, and he averages over 100 yards per game.
Love it.
And at home, Jerry's world, that's where CD shines. He's cleared 7 out of the last 11 home games dating back to last season, also averaging over 110 yards per game.
This one's in New York, but I hear what you're saying. He's been been good against the Giants. I don't mind that at all. And it's funny. Sometimes you're like, why are we making this so hard? There's some obvious get right spots. And I think of Jamar Chase last week. Everyone was on Jamar, right? They're like, he's going to be back. The Bengals, T. Higgins, the offense is going to start to look a little more normal. And sure enough, Chase was back. 2 touchdowns, 100+ yards. Like, it was a spot. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be the most abstract player and crazy line we're chasing. Mm-hmm. It was a get right spot. He got right. I feel the same way with CD here. I like that first bet.
Yeah. Next one, I'm going Wan'Dale Robinson over 4 receptions. It's nice here on Bet Victor. We don't have the 4.5 line. We get the push availability here at the -133 line, which I don't mind playing. The one concern here, Dallas only allowing 8 receptions per game to wide receivers. But it's important to kind of look into the game script, right? Week 1, they blew out the Browns, and Deshaun threw 45 times. But the last 2 weeks, they've been getting blown out. So they haven't had opposing teams throw on them more or that much because they just dive into the run game. Carr in week 2, he only threw 16 times, and he completed 11 of them. Last week, Lamar only threw 15 times, completed 12 of them. And so if this is the squeaky wheel game, then, maybe Dallas does blow the Giants out, and now the Giants have to throw a little bit more. And Robinson is definitely an option here for Daniel Jones. I know Malik Neighbors is going to be number 1, but we've seen what he's been doing lately. I won't be surprised if they double team him, have a safety, covering the deep ball. That'll only open everything up more for Robinson. Week 1, he had 6 receptions on 12 targets. Week 2, he didn't hit this line. He had 2 on 4 targets, but last week he bounced back with 7 receptions on 8 targets. And like producer Jack was saying earlier, Jordan Lewis is their nickel corner. He'll be playing. He hasn't been great. He doesn't allow too many yards, but he allows a lot of receptions. I believe last year he had a 64% catch rate against opposing wide receivers. Not very good. So we would only need 8 targets, and that's what he got last week, and that's what he's averaging so far this year. So I like that. Dallas also runs the 5th most zone coverage in the entire league, and he's got the highest PFF grade, not only of the Giants, but of the whole game, even including the Cowboys. So, against zone, and last year he killed zone. He caught 38 of his 47 targets for 81% catch rate.
I like it. And it's 24 targets for 3 games. Wan'Dale's getting looks. Mm-hmm. Unless Daniel Jones and Wan'Dale Robinson both have bad days, I feel like 8 targets is going to get us there for the over on 4 receptions. So
absolutely,
I like that as well. The other bet we've got is the one in the middle of your screen. We're going to attack this run defense of the Cowboys, which was a glaring concern when we looked at the defense against positional groups.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's just crazy how like 1 year can change everything, because last year the Dallas Cowboys had such a good run defense. You couldn't run on them. But now that's all you can pretty much do on them. They've allowed 130 yards per game to running backs. And Singletary, like we talked about, hasn't been that bad. So I'm definitely taking his over 59.5 or 59 rushing yards tonight. He's cleared in 2 out of 3 games so far. He's averaging 65.7 yards per game. And he's getting 68% of the touches. So I really like it. If you can find a longest rush line of 15.5, he's cleared that in 8 out of his last 10 games as well. And the Cowboys have allowed that to multiple backs in every game this year.
Jeez, that's interesting. 15.5, he's hit 8 of his last 10.
8 of his last 10 dating back to last year with the Texans,
That's incredible. That doesn't sound like Devin Singletary. I mean, to your point earlier, like under-respected. That you'd be, that's Saquon. He's breaking big ones. Mm-hmm. Singletary, huh? All right.
Yeah, who would have thought?
Yeah, well, the more we know.
Yeah.
Brought to you by Tyson Cole. Okay, so those are our bets of the day. Make sure you hunt those down on Bet Victor. Let's leave those up just for a moment. I'll recap them quickly. We're going to focus on CeeDee Lamb, the breakout game we're all waiting for, 78.5 yards. We're going to take the over in a get-right spot. Second bet, staying with the wide receiver group, just the other side of the field. Wan'Dale Robinson with 24 targets through 3 games. Can you catch 5 today, Wan'Dale? Let's do it. And then Devin Singletary, as you just noted, maybe an unheralded, underappreciated running back, attacking over 59 yards rushing against this leaky Cowboys run defense. Those are our bets of the day. Check them out on Bet Victor. And again, as with all things in this universe, those odds can change. This is a fluid universe we live in. And we are now 3.5 hours from kickoff, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's getting close. Getting excited. Never thought I'd be excited for a Giants game, but here we are.
I hear you. Week 1 was a disaster, but they're kind of trying to look respectable. And part of me, I don't know why, I'd like to see Danny Dimes succeed just because of all the hate he's received. And it's like, does he make a lot of money? Yeah. Is that his fault? No.
Just got a good agent.
Has he had an O-line in front of him the last 2-3 years? I don't think so. Is it his fault they don't have Saquon? Well, not really. But I would like to see the Giants respectable. We'll see if a win tonight would do that. The flip side is what you alluded to. If this is the get-right spot for the CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott,
then
this could be a blowout as well. We sort of wondered about that with the Jets and Patriots when we had them on Thursday night, a week ago or whatever it was. And it was sort of the same thing. Like, man, if the Patriots can't run the ball because that O-line's dinged up and all the things we like about the Jets start to happen, this could get ugly. And that was a blowout.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens tonight. Jack, do you have any bold proclamations or predictions on tonight's contest, whether it's someone standing out or just the vibe around the game here? Are we going to be back to Danny Dimes pick 6 memes at the end of this one or what?
I'm kind of like with Tyson on this. I love all his props. I think, we talked about that Bengals game, and right out of the gate, 45-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase. I was all over that first touchdown prop. I like the CeeDee Lamb first touchdown tonight. First drive, just get him the ball, get him in the end zone. I think that's coming in around plus 400, plus 425 on Bet Victor.
Find it right now.
I really like that. Yeah.
You remember last week? I mean, how the Giants started the game? They fumbled the kickoff.
Yep,
and then
first score.
Play from scrimmage. Amari Cooper, number 1 wide receiver. Let's do it again tonight with CeeDee.
I do like those 2 to get right and quick and often tonight. I like the yards, the receptions, touchdown for Lamb. And then if I'm the Cowboys, like Tyson, you alluded to, I think I'm doubling Neighbors this game. And I'm trying to take him out of this game as much as possible. Yeah. So if I'm the Giants, you're probably going to have to lean on Singletary in the run game and in the pass game. I like both his yards, rushing and receiving. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, like we alluded to as well, kind of a banged up corner spot for the Cowboys. I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Slayton. He's more of a big play guy more than anything. He's not going to get a ton of targets, but if he's out there on the field for them, he's a big play receiver where, he's not going to get those targets, but he could break a 40-yard touchdown, and I would be surprised. So I am interested to see if he ends up playing. If he isn't playing, it's going to be Jalen Hyatt, I think second-year receiver. Yep. Maybe interested to see what his props could look like if Slayton is out here tonight.
The real question, though, hang on, fellas, we're missing this. 10 for 10, Brandon Aubrey. 65-yard. What is Aubrey doing this week? Every week. Are we seeing a 70-yarder this week?
I don't know. I mean, you can't put it past him. I mean, he's better than Patrick Mahomes right now.
Yeah, if the opportunity's there, they'll let him kick it.
Yeah, no question.
I definitely was fully prepared to do some kicking research and bring that pick, but I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, let me just stick to what I know. But going back,
I don't know that I've seen many kicker props, but maybe I'm not looking in the right spot.
Field goals made, kicking points. Yeah, I don't know, but I believe it's out there. Anyway, going back to if Slayton plays or not, it almost doesn't matter because I feel like Jalen Hyatt's another kind of same receiver like Darius Slayton. He's a deep ball threat. So they're both going to run the go routes, which will only open up, the short area, mid area of the field, which is exactly where Wandale's good. He's got a 4.4 average depth of target, which is very low for wide receivers. So he's just an extension of the run game because it's only like 4 yards downfield,
Okay, who do we like in this division, fellas? Eagles have not been off to the greatest start. I think looking better, but I don't know. I just haven't been wowed necessarily. They're 2-1, and the Commanders are somehow 2-1. Is this the Eagles' division to lose? Or does Dallas with a win here say, "Hang on, we're not out of this"?
I think it's exactly that. I just think the Eagles are the best all-around team in the division. I mean, they aren't that great against the pass, good against the run. So I'm not, and the Cowboys are just not good on defense so far. And I don't believe the Commanders. They got a great offense, but that defense, there's a reason we continue to target wide receiver ones against them. They're not good against the pass, and that reflects in their defensive stats. So, I do believe it's the Eagles' division to lose. And also going back to that stat that no NFC East team has won it back-to-back years, I believe it still holds true because the Cowboys won last year. So, I guess it's the Eagles.
Can't argue with that, can we? All right, let's get to our final note of the day, fellas. We are approaching Thursday night, but what is saving Sunday or Monday for you? What are you looking forward to this weekend in this Week 4 slate of NFL action?
I got Stephon Diggs, and I know not sexy. He's not as sexy as he once used to be, but Tank Dell's out, and this Jags defense gets ripped apart by not only wide receivers, but the slot wide receiver. And that's where Diggs mostly plays. Last week, Khalil Shakir had 6 for 72, just completely ate him up. And so, especially with Tank Dell out, I think it's Diggs' time to really perform.
I'm geared up for Ravens and Bills. I know it hasn't been a sexy start for Baltimore, but they're too good to me to not put up a good fight here. And I just love watching the Bills. It's like, doesn't matter who's out there. If it's Josh Allen under center, things are going to happen. Their defense has been pretty damn good. They're running the ball really well with James Cook. So we'll see what the Ravens can provide for a test for the 3-0 Bills. Yeah. That's your Sunday nighter. That'll be fun. Jack, anything I know you're jacked up for these Steelers. 4-0 if they can beat Indianapolis. I said it earlier. I have no idea what Indy is. We've seen he only completed 5 passes, and 3 of them were for 60-plus yards. Like, what is Anthony Richardson at this point?
Yeah.
I think it's a good defense in Indy, but beyond that, I don't know.
Horrible run defense. I was talking to Tyson before the show. So this game shapes up well for the Steelers.
Yeah.
They should go into – they're at home, actually, so they should just take – oh, no, it is in Indy. They should go in Indy and just win this game.
Get a lead, run the ball.
Get a lead, bring them home. Exactly. For games I'm looking forward to, Minnesota and Green Bay seems interesting to me. Kind of divisional game. Who's the team in that division? I kind of want to see Love come back. Green Bay's defense has been really good as well. I don't know if you guys saw any of that Titans game last week. They were sacking Levis. I think they had 8 sacks. Every time I turned to watch that game, he was getting sacked. So I am excited for that one. And then as well, obviously, Bills, Ravens going to be a really fun Sunday Night Football. And then I'm kind of excited to see Seahawks, Lions Monday. I'm intrigued by the Seattle team. This is a good matchup for them going to Detroit. If they can pull off a win there, then maybe they are somewhat of a legit team. I'm not too sure. They haven't played great teams. They beat the Dolphins with no quarterback. They beat the Patriots, and I forget who else they beat, but I'm
both of you forget about my Broncos.
Right, the Broncos.
Fellas?
So forgettable. But yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Hey, we're 1-0 in our last one. So, I mean, I'm pretty happy. Bo Nix kind of looked good. Not going to lie.
And I'll tell you what, Tyson, weeks 1 and 2, 2 for 3 on your props. Nails. Last week, banana peel. We are 1 under 500. We are in a get right spot, just like Jamar Chase was last week, just like CD Lamb is. We'll see if we get back on the right foot with our props. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy football at dinner tonight. I'll have Friday morning football this morning here in Australia, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching again. Saving Thursday for our friends at Bet.